Guys, before we begin the tour, I want to give you some background to the things we're gonna be talking about. And I already mentioned some of them. I mentioned Abraham, I mentioned Melchizedek, and I really believe it is important to understand the background of those stories to appreciate them fully. So, we mentioned Abraham and Melchizedek. Let's talk about this story. The story begins in Genesis 14, where a coalition of nations decide to attack the lands we know today as Israel. The two kingdoms we can identify who they are Shinar and Elam. Elam is the easiest to identify because at the time of Abraham there was a kingdom called Elam, which was located on the territory we know today as Iran, which is quite interesting, don't you think? And the other one, Shinar, is a Hebrew name for Sumeria, so somewhere around Babylon or those kind of territories, today's Iraq. So anyways, the coalition of those kings had a beef with the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah, and they decided to teach them a lesson. To be more precise, the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah rebelled against the king of Elam. And this king of Elam decided to gather this coalition and punish the kings of the Levant. Okay, so let's zoom in now on this situation and hear the story.
And in the 14th year came Kedorlaomer, and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephaims in Ashtaroth-Karnaim, and the Zuzims in Ham, and the Emims in Sheva-Kiriathaim.
Let's stop here because we have some names that have been mentioned here as this army travels towards Sodom and Gomorrah. About the Rephaim and the Emims, we can find more information in the Bible.
The Emim lived there formerly, a people as great, numerous, and tall as the Anakim. Like the Anakim, they are also regarded as Rephaim, but the Moabites called them Emim.
Many Bible scholars, based on this and many other biblical descriptions, believe that the Rephaim and the Emims were actually giants. And if they were giants, we're looking at an epic battle of an army, a giant army probably, against those giants that are living in the land. So, wow, but the story continues.
And the Horites in their Mount Seir, unto El Paran, which is by the wilderness. And they returned and came to En-Mishpat, which is Kadesh, and smote all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites that dwelt in Hazazon Tamar. And there went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same as Zoar, and they joined battle with them in the vale of Siddim, with Kedorlaomer the king of Elam, and with Tidal king of nations, and Amraphel king of Shinar, and Ariak king of Elasa, 4 kings with 5. And the vale of Siddim was full of slime pits. And the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, and fell there, and they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their victuals, and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped, and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Anah, and these were confederate with Abram.
So, a war that would probably not interest Abraham now became very personal because a member of his family, Lot, was taken captive. So, we read that Abraham, with his 300 men, so an early form of special forces, you can say, chases this confederation up to Tel Dan and then further to the territory of Damascus. Now, Abraham, because he is small in numbers, needs to act smart, so he attacks by surprise at night, hits the army and escapes. Hits the army and escapes. This strategy is very successful. He's able to dismantle this big army and attack them by surprise. And also the fact that they just finished a big war, probably they're very, very tired. So that helped Abraham. Anyways, Abraham is able to save Lot, regain him from the hands of the enemy, and begins his return home. But on the way to his home, he stops at a place called Salem, which today we know as Jerusalem. And in this place of Salem, he meets a very interesting person. In Genesis 14:16, we read,
And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot and his goods, and the women also, and the people.
This information tells us that Abraham not only saved Lot, but also innocent people, including women, and he took some of the spoils from that victorious military operation. And that becomes important because of what happens next. As Abraham is in the territory of Salem, he is approached by the king of Sodom, you know, the one that lost the battle.
And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons, and take the goods to thyself. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lift up mine hand unto the Lord, the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from a thread even to a shoe latchet, and that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich.
This is an extraordinary passage that teaches us that Abraham knew that he is not responsible for the victory. It is Adonai who is victorious. He won the battle. It also shows the incredible character of Abraham. He knew he could lose everything. He could die against this powerful army that was much greater in numbers. And despite those unfavorable odds, Abraham decided to act, to go on this suicidal mission to save Lot, because he was saving his own. He knew he has to act and save his family. Abraham and Lot were not part of this conflict between the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah and the kings of the Mesopotamia. We see that Abraham refuses to keep the wealth. He did not do it because he wanted to get rich. He entered this conflict because he was attacked personally. The member of his family was captured. Okay, but the more interesting meeting is the one that we're gonna discuss later. A meeting between Abraham and the mysterious priest of the God Most High, Melchizedek. We will return to the story as we will approach a very interesting ancient temple found in the city of David. But now, let's continue the walk.